Welcome, I'm Darren, and I'll be your guide today as I look at the 2007 Topps Santa Claus card sets. Specifically, I'm going to be ranking the ones that didn't work out very well. I love this card set. It's such a brilliant concept. I mean, I don't like that they always revert to baseball designs, but at any rate, it's a cool idea because they made a card set of 16 different cards utilizing different borders from 1952 through 2007 to make different Santa Claus cards. And I think it's a really cool opportunity, and the variety is really wonderful. Some of these cards are great, and some of these are not. Now, I've broken this down into 18 cards of 9 and 9 because they also have a jersey card and they have an autograph card, neither of which showed up on this list. So this is looking at the 9 cards that definitely did not make it. And right in the middle, for the cards that, there are 2 cards I could go either way as to which list it shows up on. Now, one of those 2 cards is the 1959 design, which I have to say, I like it because of how cohesive it is, how well it works as a whole. The one that I don't think quite made it, and it's too bad, is the 1973 design. Now, this card is probably the most, it's probably the card where the border works best with the image. And unfortunately, that normally should work really well. In fact, I think it does work well for the card, the 1959 card that I don't have on this list. But in this case, it works well, except not in the right way. That's the thing. Because whenever I look at the picture of Santa, I really want to like the picture. There's a lot going on, and it makes me curious. I really want to know more about that picture. The problem is there's not more of that picture. And that's where the problem is. Because Santa's so busy, the whole picture of Santa, mainly down low, is so busy, it's got to resolve, it's got to go somewhere. And if the picture included the sack down below, then that would work perfectly because everything would come full circle. It'd be better if there was a little bit of context around him as opposed to being a portrait in front of a white background. But again, there's got to be some resolution, and the problem with this card is that the border at the bottom is too high. Because it's too high, it cuts off the picture, and then you have a space below. And that space is what always bothers me because it makes a big circle. So that means that now Santa is mostly his waist and a little bit of his face, and then there's like nothing else. And it's unsettling. That's the problem for me, is it's unsettling. So when I look at the picture, there's something missing, and I can't get past the fact that there's something missing. I want to like this card, I really do. It's just not the right card to choose for this image. You need to have the border lower down so that your imagination fills in what's below, as opposed to this one, which shows you that there's nothing below, and so it traps him. I guess that's the way to put it. So at any rate, not a big fan of that. And then there's 1968. And for 1968, okay, this is the card that would give the best runner-up to what I just said. The best combination of design and border. And here the problem is different because it works too well. Because the whole image itself is nice and tan and there's a lot of intricacy to it, but the border's also tan, which means that the image runs into the border. And that makes a problem because that means the whole card is just like a backdrop because all that red pops out, especially the red in the border. That red feature in the border means that the only thing that I see when I look at the card, I mean, I see the background, but I'm aware of it. I don't actually look at it because the red is the thing that pops out. Now, if they had used the 1970 border, which is a gray border, now this border would really work because the gray border is going to contrast with both the red as well as the tan. So the red's still going to be distinct, but the tan is, now you're going to actually start to see the tan itself. And you're going to begin to actually read the image because the image itself is going to look like an image. Even better would have been to have a red border. Because if you had a red border, then that means that the red border works with the red features and then everything else is in contrast to it. And that's when you're really going to start seeing the details on this card. but they used a tan border, and so whatever potential the image had is lost. You have to work at looking at this card. That's unfortunate. Then we have 1993. Now 1993, this is a card that is a really good card, but that's the best I can say about it. The image on the card is a stock image. It's, okay, there's Santa and his wife, and great. Santa Claus, Anna Claus, there they are. Yeah, all right, decent enough. And then the card is, yeah, decent enough. I mean, for me, there are two Topps designs that have always, I never remember them. It's 92 and it's 93. It's this space where they made a decent enough card that kind of gets by, but there's nothing that resonates, nothing that helps me to remember down the road, oh yeah, that particular design. They're bland, they're workable, they're serviceable is what I can say. That's what this card is. It's serviceable. It's a picture of Santa Claus and Mrs. Claus. Okay, on a card that is kind of okay, perfectly decent, but it's just kind of churned out, and that's the problem I have with the card. It's not bland as much as it's not interesting. But then the card that I have the most difficulty with on this list is the 1955, and that's because I really like the 55 design, and this card doesn't do any of the things that the 55 design does. Because when you design a card, you design it around the materials and around the era, and the way that you're going to make the image work, and all of that was not replicated here, starting with the image. Because in 55, it's art. Gorgeous, glorious art. Wonderful. These are photos. Photos look different. They act different. Photos don't have a spirit to them. They can have spirit in them, but they don't have a spirit to them. So already it's lost the wonderful mystique that the original cards had. But the bigger issue is actually the materials itself, because I'm never a fan of when they remake a card from the past with modern stock, and especially when it's glossy, because look, the whole point of designing the cards the way that they were was around the material. And when you think of the cards, the material is so much a part of it. When you get rid of that and you get this glossy sheen, and oh man, the bright white is just glaring. Again, all the things that made the 55 card interesting and unique, they're gone. Instead, it's very sterile, incredibly sterile and sharp, and that the green fade in the background is, it's clinical. It's like it was made on a computer to be on a computer. It's kind of glaring in a way. And the photos are just terrible selections of photos. There's no interest to them, nothing that draws me in, especially the portrait. Basically, there's nothing about this card that either says 55 Topps or a card that I want to like. And trust me, I have been really working hard to try to like this card, and I really don't. I mean, the fact that it's below 93 Topps tells you everything you need to know. But I don't think it's one of the top 5 worst. And that's where we're heading into now, starting at number 5 with 2001. The border is, it's tough to make this kind of green work. It's really tough. I don't know why they took this particular color of green, because it's not energetic and it's not off-putting, but it's a heavy color of green. And you got to have something very particular to work off of it or to work with it. And they don't do that, because inside of the card is about as bland and boring of a picture as you can imagine. I don't want to go into any Polar Express things here, because that's the first thing that always comes to my mind. But you have a green that's kind of depressing, and then you have a picture of 2 people just trudging through the snow. There's nothing even going on. They're just walking through the snow. It is so bizarre. Every time I look at this card, I just go, I don't even know what they were trying to go for, what was in their mind about it. And that's not good. Then we've got the 65. At number 4, I have the 65 design, and this will give a great example of just how important materials are, because look, I'm not a baseball card collector, so my familiarity with 60s, 70s, and even early 80s baseball is pretty tenuous. So when I was looking up which years these were, I was actually looking in the early 80s to figure out which card design this was, because I thought it'd be like an 82 or 83 design, because that's about where it would line up with football, I thought. And then I discovered, oh no, it's in the mid 60s. And once I saw the card, I went, oh, you mean that card? Because that's the thing. It is a, oh, you mean that card kind of a thing. The card design, I'm not a big fan of the color fade that's in the pennant. All of that down at the bottom is decent enough, but it is, they tried to kind of modernize it, and they lost whatever personality the design had. But this card is all about that image. And oh my word, it is such a terrible image. Santa has nothing better to do than just to look through this space and stare at me. This is an awkward card. It's a creepy card. What is Santa doing just sitting there staring at me? I mean, okay, I'll grant you, right now you're sitting there staring at me too, but at least I can't see you, so I'm not bothered by that. But here, of all people, why is Santa staring at me? And that's the thing. Every time I look at this card, it's just like, whoa, it's too big and bold. And really, it's the expression that he has with how he's looking. This is just this is an unsettling card. Really not a fan of it. Yet I do have it at number 4. Well, at number 3, I have what I consider one of the all-time most overrated cards of all time, which is 52 Topps. I don't get why anybody likes it. I mean, I understand a bunch of famous cards, Mickey Mantle and the like, came out of that set. Okay, I'll grant you that, but it's an ugly card. And it's always been an ugly card, and it'll always be an ugly card. It's just a placard with yellow lights that it's, for old cards, the design, it needs something more than an old card stock, but it also needs something different than a new card stock. It needs a little bit of reworking to make it kind of pop and have some energy to it. Otherwise, it almost looks like bolted on. I mean, I just don't like that. And then the images of 52 Topps I don't think are very good. Some of them are well selected, but overall they don't read well. And this is a card that does exactly that, except the real problem with this card isn't the 52 design, which is, obviously pretty bad. It's the picture. Because the picture, whenever I look at it, it looks like a 2-day-old shadow. Like he shaved 2 days ago, and this is how far the beard has come in. If I really look, I'll see that, okay, there's more beard than it appears. But to me, it looks like a scruffy Santa. I mean, I have a much better beard than this guy appears to have. Granted, mine still has some color to it, not a lot, but the card, a big part of how a card reads is the initial look. When you look at it, what do you initially see? And whenever I look at it, I see Hobo Santa. Basically, that's it. I almost see a little bit of red in the beard. It's not there, but it just seems to have that. And so why you would have Santa with a stubble beard, I don't know, but to me, that's what this card is. Not good. But when we move on to the top 2, we're moving into the realm of so bad it's good, and so bad it's just bad. At number 2, we have so bad it's good, and that is the 1978 design. And this is the design I'm not too worried about. I mean, I don't like the ho 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 text down there. If it was like the Padres, I think this text would work, but for most of the cards, I don't think it works. But the image, Santa has a black eye. Look at the left side of the card at his right eye. It's literally a black eye. I have so many questions. And he's holding the bell, so you can tell that he is a Salvation Army Santa, clearly from New Jersey. And you can tell that he is a Salvation Army Santa from New Jersey, not just because of the black eye, but because at times it looks like his right hand is holding a knife. To be fair, it's not, but it sure looks that way. And that would make sense for New Jersey. I can imagine that every single Santa Claus in New Jersey, or Salvation Army Santa Claus in New Jersey, is prepared to protect himself. And this guy's had a rough day. I don't know why this image was created or taken or however it works, it is, I think it's a terrible looking image on a terrible looking card with a wonderful story that's somewhere in there. That is really what I see when I look at this card. But at number one, I have the opposite, which is the 1981 design, which, how do I put this? Well, okay, so here's the thing. All right, it's a picture of a kid sitting on Santa's lap. We've all seen this. And there are two people who probably love this card, mom and dad. And maybe the kid likes it in the scrapbook or something like that, but that's what these pictures are. Santa in the store or in the mall or wherever this is happening is not there to be a photo op for everybody. He's there to be a photo op for the parents. And this card is, I understand it needs to be in this set, and I'm fine with that. But it's still a lousy looking card. Whenever I look at the card, I go, okay, yeah, good enough, I guess. That's kind of the way that it is. It's unfortunate because I really want to enjoy the joke of it, the spirit of it, which is that we all go through this, and it's a natural part of how we experience Christmas. But it looks terrible. It's a terrible looking card, and so to me, this is a joke, not a bad joke. It's a good joke, but it's nothing but a joke. And so when I look at the card, I go, okay, yeah, I get the joke. I appreciate the joke, but I don't like the card and I don't want to see the card. I'm glad it's there, but it's that card I always look past. And that's the way that I see it. And so that's the way that I rank what I consider to be the worst of the 2007 Topps Santa Claus cards. If you disagree with the list, definitely let me know where you would align these yourself. And if you think that one of the cards from the other list should have been on here, if you happen to know the cards in that set, definitely let me know. And I'm curious to hear what people say. I'm pretty comfortable with my list here, so hopefully it goes pretty well. But at any rate, I'm going to do the best of cards, the 9 other cards. I'm going to do that next week, so definitely check that out. Subscribe if you haven't done so already. And thank you very much for watching.